Hey Deckers, how's it going? Liam here. I just wanted to do a quick video on this one. Street Fighter 6 actually has a demo now available, so anyone can jump in and just check it out. For players on Steam Deck, Valve designer Lawrence Yang mentioned on Twitter that they've now set it to use Proton Experimental by default temporarily, which addresses a launching issue, and so it should give you the best experience for now. However, during the intro, you may see a brief video that doesn't yet work, and you'll see a sort of weird test screen show up instead. So if you've been trying any other version of Proton, or perhaps GE Proton, you should probably just untick the compatibility option or set it to Proton Experimental yourself. And of course, be sure to go into your downloads and make sure Proton Experimental is actually up to date. Now, Street Fighter 6 is officially launching on the 2nd of June, so it is a little over a month away still. But it's great once again to see Valve keeping an eye on an upcoming release. This is what I really love about Proton and the Steam Deck, because we have Valve constantly watching and tweaking everything they do to ensure that newer games and even demos like this can actually work out of the box on the Steam Deck. It's a level of support that I simply love to see. Now, I have to admit something to you here. I've not really played Street Fighter for more than a few minutes, apart from this demo, of course, probably since the days of the original on the Amiga. Fighting games like this are certainly not my comfort zone, and I'm just terrible at them. However, I do appreciate the developers actually thought of people like me with the newer optional modern control scheme that makes it slightly easier, since you don't need to remember so many of the button combinations. After playing for a bit now, here are the settings I found that seem to work quite well on the Steam Deck. Keeping in mind you really want as close as to 60 frames a second as you can get in a game like this, especially for keeping the input nice and responsive. So what I've done is I've turned off ambient occlusion, screen space reflections, motion blur, and depth of field. And in the detailed settings, I've tweaked it to have lighting on high, textures on high, mesh and shadows on normal, shaders and effects on low, and sampling on standard, and bloom is off. Together in one-on-one battles, that gives a really nice performance, and it does look pretty good, especially when you consider you are playing on a smaller screen as well. Now, that good performance is at least true when confined to the traditional versus battles, because they are small and the environments are quite small as well. For these types of battles, so far, overall, it's looking very good. But of course, the demo is quite limited in both characters and stages to play through. Performance in the World Tour mode, though, is where this actually gets a lot harder for the Steam Deck, because you're running around a big city, and something I've actually noticed in quite a lot of other videos of the Street Fighter 6 demo on Steam Deck is that others simply aren't showing you this area. It's important not to miss it, because it's one of the biggest parts of the game, and it's all well and good showing you the one-on-one fights that look good, but then when you jump into the World Tour mode, it's a whole different thing. Now, I actually had to drop a lot more settings to get it working better in the World Tour mode, and most settings were dropped down to low. Otherwise, the actual fights were weirdly sluggish, and the movement and input just looked and felt really off. The game actually has a dedicated setting to force World Tour fights to be locked to 30 frames a second, specifically for that reason, and it is set to on by default. If you turn it off without turning some settings down further, it really won't feel right at all. Here's the settings I'm using for the World Tour mode, just as an example, and you'll see a lot more is either turned off or turned down a fair bit lower. So you can either keep the 30 FPS World Tour fight lock on and have it look better, or turn down the settings quite a bit more. The choice is yours. Personally, I'm hoping that we do see some more Proton optimizations for it, or some more optimizations actually in the game for Steam Deck and other lower powered devices, because it's really not all that great to have fights in 30 FPS in World Tour. It's doable, sure, but it feels completely wrong compared with the versus mode where it performs amazingly well on higher settings. And even with a bunch of lowered settings, the fights in World Tour still don't feel entirely right, but it's very close. But again, they have that 30 FPS World Tour locked in the game specifically for a reason if it's an issue for you. However, if they do manage to improve the World Tour performance somehow on Steam Deck, it would probably get an easy recommendation from me because it seems like such a lot of fun, and I would really love to be able to properly get back into Street Fighter myself after so long away from it. So hopefully for now that gives you some idea of what to expect from it. Do let me know in the comments how you're getting on if you're trying it as well. But that's it for now. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.